offer as an update from what we've already recorded. So back over to you, Roy.
About Peppermint, do you remember a certain operating system called GOS or GOS or GoodOS, I think was the full name? Some people called it the Google OS, but that was kind of not the right way to address that. It was I think it got lots of publicity because it was sold in Walmart for a period of like months, maybe a year, and they worked on I'm not sure if it was a netbook or a whole kind of proper notebook, but they were selling kind of okay. Do you know the story about Walmart and why they removed some of the Linux machine at some stage?
No.
It's an interesting story. It's a bit old. It goes back to 2006 when Microsoft basically assigned a team whose goal was to try and remove Linux from Walmart, and later on they actually achieved that goal. And they had all kinds of ways of doing that. And you can see their internal documents and how they spy on people write about Linux and how they try and view and do the intelligence things before they have this team whose sole goal is to try and remove choice from the market, which I thought was a pretty major. At the time when we published that, we made some very big headlines and pages and stuff. But I find it very, very sad. Lots of people will never know about that because it's old news by now. But it did happen. It is actually written down. The same thing how Microsoft was threatening to whack Dell because Dell was offering the choice of Linux on server at a time. All kinds of stories like that. In the case of Jolly Cloud, I think they had to have their own netbook, but I'm not sure if that's the case because they couldn't get enough OEMs to pre-install the operating system. Especially now they have to compete with Chrome OS. Microsoft tries to discourage the companies that consider or have been considering Chrome OS, companies like Acer and Asus and Dell, and they try to go to these companies and use patents as a way to scare these companies. Will sue you, or you have to pay us to use Chrome OS because it contains Linux, which, as far as we know, the only thing Microsoft claims to have in it was the patents on FAT on the file allocation tables. That's the only thing they ever claimed openly is infringing. And this as far as I know, for a desktop, you could probably just remove this functionality or have a workaround to address that. And that's just the thing. Red Hat has been pressuring Microsoft to give the list of patents so they can actually do something to say to Microsoft, well, look, we've removed all the bits that you claim to own or to claim you can sue with. But Microsoft doesn't give the list. It just says, well, it's infringing and we don't want to tell you where. And anytime we're just going to sue you or extort you or threaten to take you to court and pay millions in lawyers' fees to eventually probably give up because we have more money than you have. And that's the way they work, and that's the way they've always worked, basically trying to win based on the imposition of very heavy costs on your defendant when you try to sue them. That's what they've been doing for years, and that's what SCO has been doing for over 7 years now, to an extent, trying to just overwhelm these companies and trying to ensure that the investors that they have, which happen to include Microsoft, get the benefits of their investment in SCO as a company whose eternal purpose is to say to you that Linux is kind of a theft, so-called theft, because they claim it to be a ripoff of Unix.
Well, just very quickly confirming what you said a few minutes ago, and that I've managed to call up my review of Peppermint, which was from May the 30th of this year. And yes, you were right. It's derived from Mint, obviously, which in turn comes from Ubuntu. So, yes, you were correct. Moving on now. I see I've got some of your links up that you posted today. Is there anything else you want to cover off your list?
We have some nice Android news. And I think the major news to me was Netflix planning to address the platform, which is Linux-based, which I found quite interesting because Netflix is not very friendly towards Linux, as you probably know. I think they are the company that use Silverlight among the minority of companies. Is this the company I'm thinking about, or?
Right. Well, I'll go with your belief. I think you're right. Yes.
I'm trying because this is kind
Yep.
of an American company, so I don't really have access to information. But I also think, as far as I probably should check this first, actually check. But one of the things that one of the readers, Chips, used to tell us is that they have Microsoft people, former Microsoft people inside the company, which I found interesting. So even if they are willing to go to Android, and you have Telstra, which has lots of, well, at least I can think of 2 or 3 top executives who came from Microsoft to Telstra, which is an ISP in Australia, and they also start to stock Android and start to sell these phones which contain Linux. So you would think these people who used to be in a company that says, well, Linux is obviously supposed theft or illegal things or commie software or whatever they used to call that, they are actually working in a company now which favors or put the money on Linux. I just find it very interesting.
Well, I'm pleased you brought up chips, and very quickly I'd like to just squeeze in a little bit of info, and it just really adds to what we were talking about yesterday in regards to the Windows Phone 7. Chips very kindly wrote an in-depth post on my blog, just going into a little bit more detail about the things that Windows Phone is missing, and he's added a few that we didn't cover, and it appears the list is a lot longer than the one that I mentioned on the show yesterday. So, in thanks to Chips, who posted at a time when we were just recording the last episode, so I couldn't really read and record at the same time. I'll just mention a few of the things that he's pointed out now, and that link to his comment, which is virtually a post in itself, will be on the show notes. He mentioned the problems. There was a lot of missing stuff and problems with Windows 7 Phone. He says that tethering we covered. The compass on handsets with a built-in compass, there's problems with that. It doesn't elaborate as to what, but I'm assuming it just doesn't work. He mentions tethering, he mentions copy and paste, he mentioned SD cards as well. I believe he's meaning that you can't throw an SD card in there and store your data on that. I could be wrong. Somebody please correct me. No Skype, which is something we didn't mention. Mail exchange is broken or does not work with the Zoom software in WP7 without extensive modification, and even then, still not seamless, which the average phone user will not be able to or want to do. Microsoft Office is useless without copy and paste. I think we sort of touched on that yesterday as well. Very limited app library, approximately 1,600 compared to 300,000 for Apple and over 100,000 for Android. Worse, the few apps available cost more than the Apple iPhone apps do. And it goes ringtones. I think we covered the custom ringtones. And he ends, Steve Ballmer, one wonders if his promises to deliver upgrades to WP7 or provide the insights to improve, it should not be questioned. Yeah, he's basically saying that, obviously this is, got Steve Ballmer's name on it, and should it be, an issue, and should the Windows 7 phone fail, it might not bode well for Mr. Ballmer. Certainly the kin didn't do very much.
I published an article from, well, I should first say that Chips is the person who told me about Netflix, and he drew my attention to the fact that Netflix is now the host, so to speak, of former Microsoft employees. And this, to him, was an explanation of why Netflix is using Silverlight. And I've just put on the screen a few things. I just wanted to verify that they are the company that was promoting lots of Microsoft things, and now they facilitate support for Android. Now, the other thing about Chips is just a few hours ago I posted a small article based on what he gave me in IRC a few days ago. He wrote kind of a small post by pasting in IRC. And what he basically showed is 2 things. The first is that the Windows Phone is now being sold for like 99 cents, obviously with a plan of some sort. And that's exactly, or that's similar to what Microsoft was doing with the King. Just within a week, I think it lived for 42 days, so maybe almost a month after the launch of the King, they basically reduced the price because they were trying to sell them or to get rid of them or something. And that's what happens now with Windows Phone. So that kind of tells you it's kind of like the same story probably with a bit better sales because they have lots of marketing. The second thing it shows me is is a couple of articles talking about the possibility